I'd like to call the meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everyone here. Thank you, Council, for coming to the meeting tonight. I'd like to give the opening over to Councillor Jake Hiebert.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I look around the room and see everybody on City Council here, I wonder, how did we all get here? What's the path we took? Probably a 2 or 3 hour topic. I'm going to see if I can condense it into 10 minutes. And look at it from a very simplistic point of view, maybe even a little philosophical. Not that I've ever been accused of being philosophical. The older I get, I find myself sitting down and saying, how did I get where I am today? As council, we all took various paths. Some of us, it took 30 plus years to get here. Others, it took 60 plus years to get here. Being simplistic, I just want to compare this to an illustration of fingerprints, how fingerprints are formed. Is that similar to how our path in life is formed? Identifiable friction ridges are found on the fingerprints, they're found on the palms, they're found on the bottom of the feet, and they're found on the toes. And they're formed in utero, and they're completely formed by the 4th month, and they never change except for size till after they're decomposed after death. The skin has 5 layers, and as the cells grow through those layers to form friction ridges in those areas, they push and they pull, and the way they're laying in the womb depends on which cells grow faster. And basically, a fingerprint only has 4 deviations. It has a ridge ending, it has an island, it has a bifurcation, and if it's 2 bifurcations, it's called a lake. How is life similar to friction ridges? Where are we jostled? Where are we pushed? In my own life, how was I directed to public safety? Was it opportunity? Was it choices I made? Was it open and closed doors? Was it people in my life? I grew up in a family of 10 children, so we were jostled and pushed, and you had to try to find your own place within the family and at the supper table. At 10 years of age, I was babysitting. At 15 years of age, I was refereeing Hanover hockey. All the way through high school, I refereed volleyball. I worked for many farmers. At 18, I joined Winnipeg City Police. There was only one opening in all of Manitoba, and I definitely didn't get it because of my marks in school. At 22, I joined the RCMP for the next 35 years. After policing, I worked a year at the Mennonite Museum, in charge of the grounds and the buildings. I was the judge of Stony Mountain for a while, and again, you're being jostled and you're being pushed, and doors open and doors close. For 6 years, I was an executive of the federal government. My signature had the power to keep a prisoner incarcerated, to offer prisoner freedom, or more than 4,000 people who I gave criminal pardons to. Again, being simplistic, you may say that all those driving factors mentioned, the desire says that I had a desire for authority, control, power, responsibility, not being afraid to be accountable. But when I look around the room, you, I think, all fit in that same category. You're all in charge, school teachers, sales, being in charge of your own companies. You obviously thrive off of responsibility. You have power within your jobs, and you're not afraid to be accountable. So in some ways, our paths are similar. In other ways, they're vastly different. Friction ridges only have 4 deviations, as I mentioned. To date, only 4 of those deviations have been found in sequence. So if you look at our data banks in the world, there's probably well over 1 billion fingerprints in the data bank. But if there's only 4 deviations, somebody with statistics would say, well, those deviations should duplicate themselves every so often to the power of whatever. But it never does. Like I said, to date, there's never been more than 4 of those deviations or points in sequence that have duplicated themselves. In Canada, the RCMP used to use a 8-point identification. The FBI used 12 points, and Scotland Yard used 16 points. When we compare it to DNA, on the other hand, is statistical probability. It's never positive. Fingerprints are the only infallible and positive means of identification known to man. And as I said, they're formed in the womb completely by 4 months, and they never change. In closing, I again ask, how do we all get to City Council? Now I'm going to put up a bit of a debunk to everything I've just said. Is there a more powerful determining factor directing my path, directing our paths in life? Our fingerprint formations in our own lives more than just opportunities and choices, pushings and proddings, opened and closed doors. I believe in God who determines both formation of fingerprints and the direction our own lives take, doors and choices placed on our path in life. It is He who has made us and not we ourselves. I praise you because I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Your hands made me and formed me. Your word is a lamp for my feet, a light to my path. I know, O Lord, that a man's way is not his own. No one who walks directs his own steps. As unique as fingerprints are, people are much more unique. We all got to the same place. Our paths were ultimately and uniquely different. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hiebert. Council, we have the agenda in front of us. I need a motion to adopt. Councillor Penner, second by Councillor Hiebert. I'll call for the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Council, we have the minutes of April 16th, 2019, a regular council meeting in front of us on page 1. We've all had time to review them. I need a motion to approve. Councillor Damien Penner, second by Councillor Jake Hiebert. I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Is any business arising from the minutes? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to 6A, which is the public hearing Variance V-2019-12, 185 Woodhaven. At this time, I will close the council meeting and open the public hearing. Mr. Workentine, would you please introduce this file?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this application for variance file V-2019-12 for property with civic address, or multiple civic addresses, 159 Woodhaven Avenue, owned by Greenwood Meadows, Inc., 175 Woodhaven Avenue, owned by Woodhaven Manor, Inc., and 185 Woodhaven Avenue, owned by Resthaven Nursing Home of Steinbach, Inc., with the applicants for the variance being Greenwood Meadows, Inc. and Woodhaven Manor, Inc. The purpose of the variance is to allow an accessory use to be constructed on a zoning site prior to the construction of the principal building. The applicants are proposing to construct a parking lot on 159 Woodhaven Avenue prior to the construction of the principal building. Notices as are required under the Planning Act have been issued. There is no written correspondence on file. With respect to the application, this is, as said, the intent to create the accessory use being the parking lot prior to the principal use, and as such requires a consideration by City Council via variance public hearing. This parking lot is being proposed in connection with the anticipated personal care home expansion that is expected in the near future. Overall, there are generally no concerns from administration. Recommendation is that City Council approve the variance subject to the applicable property owners entering into a shared driveway, shared parking and cross-access agreement, and also subject to any comments that may be made at the public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Workentine. Is the applicant here tonight?
Yes,
And would the applicant like to speak?
we're okay.
Okay, okay. Is there any questions of council for the applicant? Okay. Okay, seeing none, is there anyone who would like to object to this file? You'll have to take the podium, state your name and address, please.
Daniela Friesen, I live at 116 Harvest Drive. That's that pie-shaped block there. The initial proposal was that there was supposed to be some sort of assisted living facility constructed on that site, correct?
Yes, there was.
Okay, so this is now just going to be a parking lot, or is this first going to be a parking lot and then there still is going to be an assisted living facility built on there? I just want
At
to,
this point, they're asking for the parking lot first.
okay,
Now, if they come up with the Greenwood Manor, then that would have to come to, there would have to be a
Another.
conceptual site plan, and all that developed, a development agreement, everything. Right now, what they're asking for is a variance to make a parking lot for extra parking.
okay. So my only concern is I do have a fairly decent-sized pool in my backyard, and I would love to have a privacy fencing constructed along my property line, if that is something that could be taken into consideration. Just, yeah, for privacy. There's lots of small kids running around in the backyard, and I would appreciate some privacy if there's supposed to be lots of people walking around. That's probably the only thing I have to say.
Would the applicant, would you like to speak to that?
So I think just to be clear, our request for a parking lot variance does not include the entire lot. It's only the front part, where that narrow part is up front. Like right off of Woodhaven, it's only one lot deep. And we're looking at having a barrier in the sense of no vehicle can drive onto that as extra a little piece of land. So we are a fair distance away. So I don't think there'll be anything more than there is today. Yeah.
So that answered your question? Yes. Well, okay. Thank you. I will ask again, is there anyone here wanting to object? I'll ask for the third and final time. Is there anyone here wanting to object to this file? Okay, seeing none, we will close the public hearing and open the council meeting. Council, how would you like to proceed? Council Swagstra.
I'll move the approval of the variance.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Bill Hiebert. Go ahead, Councillor Swagstra.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's a fairly straightforward variance. This is to allow the what's called an accessory use, in this case a parking lot, to be constructed prior to the principal building, as it's called. And the reason for it is that because of the expansion of Rest Haven that's happening, they're going to be losing parking space during that process because it's a significant change to the lot. And so in order to ensure that they have adequate parking for staff, they need to construct this parking lot first, so that way there's no disruption there. And so I think it makes sense to approve the variance.
Anything further?
Yeah, I would agree with Councillor Swagstra. Makes sense to approve this.
Anything further from council? Anything in closing? Yes, council, this, as Councillor Swagstra said, this is a very open and shut case. It's straightforward. It's just to supply a little extra parking that will be taken up by the construction. So we'll call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you. We will now go to item 7. This is our delegation. It's just a little before 7:45, but that'll be okay. I'm sure Mr. Raizen is ready. He is from the Donor Relations Canadian Blood Service, and he has a presentation for us. So let's give him our full attention. Take the podium.
Thank you very much. Mayor Funk and council members, thank you for the opportunity to address council today. September 28th, 2018 was the 20th anniversary of Canadian Blood Services. Building on our 20 years of experience delivering life-saving products to Canadians, we renewed our brand to position our organization for success now and into the future. And our brand is not just a logo or a tagline, it's what sets us apart, and it's really what we believe in. It's how we collectively deliver on our promise to Canadians. Our promise is to help every patient, match every need, and serve every Canadian. And we can't do it without our fellow Canadians. Together, we are Canada's lifeline. So while I'm here today speaking about blood donation, the additional components of Canadian Blood Services is stem cells and bone marrow, plasma collections, as well as operation of organs and tissue registries. Blood and blood products are a critical part of everyday medical care, including major surgeries, medical procedures, cancer treatments, and managing disease and disorders. Across Canada, we need about 100,000 new donors to join the system every year to add to the overall donor base or replace donors who are no longer donating. In Manitoba, we need about 1,000 blood donations per week to meet hospital demand. In 2018, just locally here, Canadian Blood Services issued the Bethesda Regional Health Centre 601 units of red blood cells and 10 units of platelets. We hold mobile community donation events 4 days a week in 29 Manitoba locations, including the bi-weekly donation events here in Steinbach. Our goal for each Steinbach donation event is to collect 96 units, 1 unit per donor. And I want to be very clear to say that the donor base here in Steinbach are very generous and dedicated. Our annual donation goal in Steinbach is 2,304 units, and I've left a leave behind with the facts on it. This is the same donation goal as in Brandon, which, as we know, is about 3 times the population of Steinbach. In 2018, our Steinbach donation events met 97% of our donation goals, which is fantastic. However, just about 50% of the donation events fell short of their donation goals, so the collections throughout the year were inconsistent. And one of the factors is that we hold our donation events here on Mondays, which means we have several events on long weekends or long holiday Mondays. But we do this because we can count on Steinbach donors to help replenish inventory, as we do not collect donations on Sunday anywhere in Manitoba or across Canadian Blood Services. To meet our Steinbach donation goals and to lower the donation frequency per donor, which is higher than average, in Steinbach we need about 350 new donors every year to join the blood system. And in 2018, we had 210 successful new donor donations in Steinbach, which is positive, but not quite the 350 new donors that we were looking for. We have very strong support from the business community, including Clearview Co-op, Low and Window, Steinbach Credit Union, and the Steinbach Pistons, who held a Hockey Gives Blood community night on January 12th, 2019. The Hunt family, whose son Ezekiel, a local family here, was born with severe combined immunodeficiency, which is a genetic mutation in his cells which deprived him of an immune system. The family came out and made the ceremonial puck drop, and Lifeline Manitoba was there with a Hockey Gives Blood recruitment table. Throughout his treatment, Ezekiel received blood and blood products and a bone marrow transplant, and in November of 2018, celebrated his first anniversary of the successful procedure. He has since been given the okay to live life as any healthy 2-year-old, and that's the difference that blood and stem cell donors can make in our communities. However, more local businesses and organizations are encouraged to join Canada's Lifeline and to help raise awareness of the need for blood donors and to book group donation appointments. So how can Steinbach City Council help with that? Firstly, I'm asking if it's possible to issue a proclamation in support of June 14th, which is World Blood Donor Day, and National Blood Donor Week, which is June 9th to 15th this year. So it's typically held in that second week in June every year. Support community blood donation by encouraging city employees to come out to donate in June. We know that there's Public Service Week in June, and so around that time. And often we do need more donors around the holiday periods. So many of my communities are supporting blood donation, specifically encouraging staff to come out to donate in June and as well as in December. That's really the basics of my presentation. It's just to let you know the gratitude that we have here for donors here in Steinbach, But there is a greater need for donors to step forward, and I'm hoping through my presentation and the awareness that brings through council will help propel more new donors to join the system. And just to be clear, we're here every second Monday, so the first and third Monday of the month. Our donation events run from 2 to 7 p.m., and we're primarily at the Steinbach Evangelical Mennonite Church on Main Street, or typically holiday Mondays, we're at the Steinbach Mennonite Church on Lowen. Thank you very much. Are there any questions?
I'll just have you stay at the podium for a second. Council, is there any questions? Councillor Schweikster.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for taking the time to present. Steinbach, there are lots of blood donors. I've given blood in the past, and I know there are lots of others who do as well. Just if I could ask, I know that it used to be that you came to Steinbach once a month, and then that was upped to the bi-weekly, as you mentioned. One of the challenges that I've seen, like, there is that it's very crowded because there's so many people who are coming in who are generously donating blood. Is there any thought to, in the future, expanding the hours in terms of whether maybe going from bi-weekly to weekly, or perhaps having more hours available, let's say 2 to 9, to better accommodate people who work during the day and really have at most a 2-hour window at the end of the day, and once those appointments fill up, it's pretty hard to get in. I'm just wondering if there's any talk about expanding the hours.
You know, we've not had that conversation about expanding the hours. We do run a fairly lengthy clinic here, so the maximum most of our mobiles is that 5-hour period, and we are running 10 donation beds, so that's the maximum size that we bring out. What we have been doing over the past few years is really expanding the technology around the donation appointments. So as you're probably aware, as a blood donor, you can now complete your questionnaire or record of employment online before you come to the donation center. That helps speed things along. One of the primary reasons we went to twice a month was to ensure that we had less, we weren't collecting as many units at the one event, so hopefully that it would move more smoothly for donors. And thirdly, we're also releasing something called Donor Concierge, which is an electronic check-in process. So when you come to the donation event, you would use your blood donor card, let us know that you're here, and then as you move through the check-in process, it follows you along and lets you know how long you'll be waiting, and I think that will help alleviate some of the concerns. But I can take that back to our planning committee and let them know that there was that comment. I will say that we do plan our donation events about 18 months in advance, so we're deep into planning 2020 and 21, and we have to consider where else we have our donation events, typically on Mondays. So one of our donation centers is Portage La Prairie, where we have a lot of donors that are coming out, and we even run a same length clinic, but with collecting 120 units there in Portage. So we're sensitive to the amount of time that people are spending. In general, we say it takes about 1 hour to make your donation from start to finish. And I'll say finally that in Manitoba, our staff are top-notch and lead the country in donation times in clinics. So we're very sensitive that it does have an impact. The best thing that we can do to ensure that there's less waiting is kind of twofold. One, for people to make donation appointments. So if they have an appointment rather than just showing up, that ensures everyone can start at the appropriate time, and as that will help move through the flow. So that's certainly one big difference. And then coming when your donation time is. So soon as we open the doors, many people might come in and say, I'm booked at 3 o'clock, but I'm here at 2, can I donate now? And what that can sometimes affect is the flow of the donation event because people aren't coming at the scheduled time. So, but people being people, we can't always control that, and certainly we're very grateful for the donors that do come out, and again, sensitive to the time concerns.
Any other questions?
I'd just like to make a comment as well. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for attending. I too have been giving blood for years. I've got my 100 pin. And plus, but unfortunately I can't give any more due to medication. But I concur, like I said, with the comments of Councillor Schweikster. What I found difficult was to get off work at 5 or 6 at night. You can't make that, it's not open till 8 o'clock at night. So either you got to take an hour off work, or your company has to give you time off work in order to be there by 5 o'clock, like you said, it takes an hour to be there by 5:30.
Right. Well, actually, our last appointment is 6:55, so if you're there at the donation event checking in by the 6:55 time period, we will,
That was
welcome
always-
you
I
in.
found there was always a rush.
Right, and I understand that. We do have, in some situations, local employers will give employees a little bit of time off to make those donation events. And of course, we're accommodating people with a variety of schedules, but I do, concur that is a challenge for folks to get there, within that time frame, especially if they work right up to 6 o'clock.
Thank you.
Any comments, questions? Thank you very much, Mr. Raizen, for your presentation and the good work that you do in our healthcare system.
Thank you very much.
Okay, council, I guess the challenge is there to donate. We'll go to number 9, to administration. 9A, the accounts payable on the back of the book. We've all had a chance to go through them, and we're looking for a motion to approve. Councillor Jake Siemens, second by Councillor Damien Penner. Any comments? Any discussion? Nothing further, nothing in closing. I'll call for the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Okay, 9B, the building permits for April. That's on page 15. We've had just over $1.4 million in permits for April. That gives us a year-to-date total of just under 9. We need a motion to approve. There's a motion to approve at the bottom of the page. Councillor Susan Penner, second by Councillor Bill Hiebert. Any comments? Okay, question, all those in favor? That is carried. We have 9C, the Chamber Fraser Chartered Professional Accountants. That is the 2018 Audited Financial Report. It's on page 16 of your agenda, Council. We have had this presented to us a few weeks back at a meeting, and we approved them in principle, and now all we need to do is accept them. I need a motion to accept as council. Do I have a motion to accept? Councillor J. Hiebert, second by Councillor Damien Penner. Any comments, Councillor Hiebert?
Oh, as stated, council discussed this earlier, and everything seems to be in order.
Okay, anything further? Anything from council? Anything in closing?
No, thank you.
Okay. Yes, council, it's, merely, we just need to accept these now, so call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Go to 9E. That is the 2018 financial statements for the JCAP Library. These two, point of order, D. We'll go to D first, E after. That is the financial statements for the Steinbach Community Development Corp. The Steinbach Community Development Corporation has already approved these statements. So now we just need a motion to accept. Councillor Damien Penner, second by Councillor Susan Penner. Nothing further. Call for the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Now we're on 9E. That is the financial statements for the JCAP Library. These will be shortly approved by the library, but we've all had a good look at them, and we just need a motion to accept. Councillor Bill Hiebert, second by Councillor Damien Penner. Any comments? Okay. Call for the question. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. We are 9F. This is the federal gas tax revenue, the annual expenditure report. That is on page 72 of our package. This too, we need a motion to accept. Councillor Michael Swigstra, second by Councillor Jake Hiebert. Any comments? No. Okay, anything further? Okay, we'll go right to the question. Call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. We've got 9G, the Handy Transit Financial Report. there too, that's on page 76. That's where it starts. We're just looking for a motion to accept. Councillor Hiebert, second by Councillor Michael Swakstra. Any comments?
Pretty clear, thank you.
Okay, we'll go straight to the question. All those in favor? And that is also carried. That takes us to number 10, council question period. Are there any questions of council? Seeing none, we will move on to 11A, that's on page 81. This is the correspondence petition, Minister of Sustainable Development, Dutch Elm Disease Program Grant Agreement. And we'll just take that as information. So this year, the Dutch Elm Disease funding that we're getting is $58,520, and that's just for information. And now 11B, Minister of Municipal Relations, read the municipal operating grant. That starts on page 82. I'll just take that as information also. And looking at number 12, other business, there is none. And there's the 13, adjournment. Motion for adjourn. Councillor Jake Hiebert, second by Councillor Bill Hiebert. I'll call for the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Next regular council meeting is Tuesday, May 21st, 2019 at 7:30. Thank you.